actually have graduates from the college who are working in Malta. We've interviewed them before they came over, and we know that they're all extremely good doctors, and it's a pleasure to have them here, and we look forward to having some of you in the coming years. But just to come to the talk, what I will cover is, first of all, I'll let you know a little bit about our foundation school and the foundation program, which covers the first 2 years after graduation, and touch a little bit on other opportunities that we have in terms of postgraduate training beyond foundation. I'll go through briefly with you the main points that you need to look out for in terms of the timeline for application and the requirements, what you need to have, how you need to prepare yourself for the application process and to make sure that you get recruited, and tell you a little bit about our competition ratios and also your position at the end, at least, of foundation training if you want to go and pursue your training elsewhere beyond foundation. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But before I go on any further, I feel obliged, since we've been hearing about the United States and Ireland, that I ought to maybe put ours on the map for those of you who said, oh, what's this, Malta? So we're kind of there in the middle of the world, and everything revolves around us. That's the Mediterranean, and I'm also, I can say from very recent experience that it's very short from there to up there, because we came in yesterday at midnight and I'll be back in Malta this afternoon. So we have good links to Ireland, and we have good links to the rest of Europe, and of course we have good links also to the Middle East and elsewhere. So that's the good thing about it, or one good thing about it. The other good thing about it is it's relatively small. That's the Maltese archipelago, which mainly consists of these two islands, Malta and Gozo. It's very small, so you can get around very quickly. You can walk around if you like. But the other good thing about it is that you're always very close to this blue sea around you. And you can't be anywhere without seeing the sea, which I can tell you, for those of you who've lived near the sea, especially the Mediterranean Sea, is absolutely a pleasure. And there it is. You can see it from everywhere, including the hospital where you will be working in if you choose to come to our island. And these are some of the views that you will be able to see. So apart from the beautiful blue sea and the blue skies and the warm weather, there's also plenty of history. We have some, as you can see, beautiful fortifications from the 16th and 15th century. We have also some very beautiful palaces for you to see, and some lovely art that's doesn't project very well, but that's the famous Caravaggio, the beheading, which is the biggest masterpiece by Caravaggio, and the only signed masterpiece by Caravaggio, which actually is in Malta. So there's a lot for you to enjoy, but of course I'm not here to tell you about how much fun you will have, but about other things. So we also are part of Europe, so we're part of the European Union, and we're very happy to join the European Union. And initially we were very happy to be part of the euro. That might have changed slightly since then, but there we are. So you don't need to worry about financial matters, because you'll be using the same currency as you do here. So I'll come to the important bits now. So in terms of the training, what we have, unlike Ireland, is that the internship, if you like, is actually 2 years, not 1 year. And the 2 years are the foundation program, of which, as Alice said, I am co-director with another one of my colleagues, who's Dr. Tonio Piscopo. And after you finish your foundation program and you get your completion certificate, then you can move on to basic training. And that's kind of your BST or basic specialist training, if you like. So you choose to go into a specialty, and the foundation program prepares you into going into the basic surgical training program of your choice. There's 2 years of BST, and then you move on to HST, which is the higher surgical training, at the end of which you complete your training, and then you can apply for consultant posts. So what's the foundation program? So the foundation program is the first 2 years after your graduation. We are an affiliate of the UK program. You might have heard about the UK foundation program. So we're part and parcel of that program, if you like, and we are represented on the foundation school directors meetings. It's a 2-year program, which is a generic program in the sense that it does not give you kind of specialized or specialist skills, but gives you the broad skills, the transferable skills that you will need in all of the specialties, or whichever specialty you choose to opt to go into after the 2 years. And it's kind of bridge between medical school and specialist training. The main objectives are that you build on the knowledge and the skills that you've acquired at medical school, and you continue to refine and develop those, both in terms of the clinical side, but also in terms of your professional development, your professional behavior and your attitudes. And also probably you will develop or build on the skills such as team working and your time management, communication, IT skills, etc. So it's aimed to equip you with the general kind of and generic medical and professional competences that allow you to practice safely and then to move on to the next step. The good thing about the foundation program is that there's a clearly defined curriculum, which is kind of your framework that tells you what you're meant to achieve at the first year and at the second year. So you know at the very start what you need to be working at, both in terms of your clinical skills, both in terms of your procedural skills, behavior, attitudes, etc. And indeed, this curriculum is continuously updated, and in 2012 there'll be an updated version of the curriculum, which is already online on the UK Foundation Program website if you want to have a look at it. But this is extremely good. It clearly states the competencies, the level that you need to achieve at every step. So it's well spelled out, and on that framework you can kind of direct your own learning during those 2 years. So you know what you need to achieve, and you will be guided as to what you need to do to achieve those competencies. What's the 2-year program like? So you will have 4 3-month posts in the first year, F1, and 4 3-month posts in the second year. So if you're offered the job, what you will get is you will get a long list like you see here from 1 to 80, 100, and you will rank the program that you want to do, and then you will be allocated the highest choice possible. In other words, say if you like this program, if you want to do 3 months surgery, 3 months medicine, 3 months obs and gynae, and 3 months neurology, you will put program 9 as your first choice. So this gives you just a taste of what the programs are like, but in the first year, as you can see, you will almost certainly do 3 months of surgery and 3 months of medicine, and then 2 other 3-month assignments. So they're varied, so you can see there are various subspecialties there as well. In the second year, as you can see, there is these orange bars, so you will do accident and emergency at least for 3 months, and in some cases 6 months. And then you'll have the option of doing 2 other specialties, which, as you can see, there's a whole list of: hematology, general practice, psychiatry, ENT, plastics. So there's various choices, and there's basically options in practically all of the specialties. So by the end of the 2 years, you would have done 8 assignments, 4 3-month posts in the first year and 4 3-month posts in the second year. These are the different hospitals where these posts are distributed in. The main hospital is this one, which is Mater Dei Hospital, which is a brand new hospital. We've only moved into that in 2008. So it's brand new, lovely facilities. So it's a pleasure to work in. We have other hospitals as well. One of them is this hospital, which is a dermatology and oncology hospital, which is Boffa Hospital. As from next year, this will move to a brand new site just next door to the main hospital. So again, there'll be brand new facilities for dermatology and oncology. The other hospital you see there is a psychiatric hospital, which is Mount Carmel Hospital. There's also a geriatric hospital, and there's Caringrec Hospital, which is only about 5 minutes away from the main hospital, which is a rehabilitation hospital. And you might be assigned for some of the posts there. The whole program runs around you. So the trainee or the foundation doctor is the key person in the whole of this program, and you will have interaction with various people around you who will be there to support you, to teach you, to guide you, and to provide feedback. The main person you will be dealing with will be your clinical supervisor, who is the consultant who you will be assigned to for each of those 4 3-month posts. You will also have a named educational supervisor, who is kind of your mentor, who will be with you for the full year. We have 1 educational supervisor per trainee. So we are also education supervisors, both Etienne and myself, and we have a number of others. All of these are trained as education supervisors, and I have 1 trainee for the full year. So I will be watching throughout the year what that trainee is doing. I'll be meeting that trainee. I often, I get to know him and he gets to know me. And often if there are issues, then he'll come and discuss them with me. And that's a good way of ensuring that there is somebody as a mentor who's seeing your progress throughout the whole year across those 4 different assignments. In the second year, you'll get a different educational supervisor. But again, that education supervisor will be with you for the full year, and the education supervisor from the first year will hand over to the education supervisor for your second year. Of course, if there are any issues, then there's foundation program directors, and there are 5 associate foundation program directors who are assigned a group of trainees who are ensuring that the education supervisor and yourself, you're getting on in the program, you're fulfilling the requirements for the program, you're making good progress. So there are no surprises at the end. And of course, you will also have assessments done by very senior doctors who you work with and other colleagues, and also by the allied healthcare professionals. So all of these will kind of contribute to your own training, to your feedback. The education supervisor, as I mentioned, is somebody who's trained for the post. That education supervisor will only have 1 trainee. So that will be your education supervisor, and you will have no other trainee to think about except you. This is meant to be as somebody who's a mentor, but he will also be involved in kind of appraising you. And at the end of the year, he will be the person who will say, yes, I'm happy that my trainee has done what he needs to do or she needs to do to be able to get the completion certificate. If you're in F1, to be able to progress to F2, and if you're in F2, to be able to get your completion certificate, which is your FACD. The clinical supervisor, as I said, is your consultant, so you will have 4 of these during the year, and this is the person who will be, who you will be working with, who will be assessing you during the day, guiding you, teaching you. He'll the person who will be doing some of your assessments, and he will also, at the end of the 3-month assignment, fill in a clinical supervisor's report with you. So at the beginning of the first of those 3 months, you will meet your clinical supervisor formally, and that meeting is documented. And at the end as well, you will need to make sure that you get a clinical supervisor's report, which is satisfactory. In terms of the program itself, a lot of the teaching and training is on-the-job training. It's a kind of apprenticeship, if you like. But apart from the unstructured apprenticeship that we were exposed to in our days, this is more kind of formalized. So apart from the on-the-job teaching, there's a weekly teaching program, which is an interactive program, which you will get time out to be able to attend. So that is protected time for you. So during that time, you don't need to attend to clinical duties. So you just go to the training, and other people will cover for your clinical responsibilities while you're at that training. So you don't need to worry about that. We also have training days in certain areas, for example, general practice or accident and emergency, before you actually start working there. We have clinical skills training, so we have, apart from what has already been mentioned this morning, such as cannulation and venipuncture and all of this, you have clinical skills training in, for example, lumbar puncture or central line insertion or joint aspiration or pleural taps or paracentesis. So you will get focused clinical skills training in those areas. And we also do clinical simulation training, so we have a 3G SimMan, where you will get clinical scenarios, where you will be exposed to clinical situations, and then at the end of the session you are briefed and given feedback about your performance. And that is something that the trainees really enjoy and always want us to do more and more of. At F1 you will also get intermediate life support. That usually is done at the very start of the program, and in F2 you will also get advanced life support. In addition to this, during your training, you can take 1 week out as study leave in first year and in second year to go and experience working in a particular specialty. So say if you're particularly interested in, I don't know, pediatric surgery, you can take the week out and go and spend the week in pediatric surgery. You're not working as a foundation doctor, but we have timetables, specific timetables, where you will get the opportunity to see what a consultant does at that level, to see what the higher surgical trainee does, what the basic surgical trainee does, or the basic specialist trainee does. So you get a taste of what the training is about, what the requirements for that specialty are, what it's like, you know, working as a consultant in that specialty. So particularly if you're not sure, it gives you the opportunity of getting a direct experience of the specialty before you make any choices. We also have free e-learning resources. There's the e-learning for health, which is free for all of our trainees, which is developed by the NHS UK. Our trainees also have access to BMJ Learning, and we have our also in-house e-learning modules in certain areas, which we encourage our trainees to make use of and to also use as evidence of completion or covering their curriculum. At the start, so before you actually are, you know, thrown in at the deep end, there are 2 weeks of induction and shadowing. So in the induction week, you're told about, you know, the nitty-gritty of what you need to do to get leave and your salary and this and that and the other. And in the second week, you actually shadow the foundation doctor in the team that you will be joining the following week. So there's a full week where you get an idea of what your work the following week will involve, and also an opportunity to get a proper handover from your predecessor. We also encourage the trainees during that shadowing week to at least spend some time on the on-call to see what the work on-call involves. Okay. So before you actually start, these are 2 weeks, which are obviously paid, where it's kind of easing you into the job gradually before you actually start taking on the responsibilities yourself. During the process, you will be assessed, and unfortunately, there are assessments that you will need to complete. Although we call them assessments, they're really intended to ensure that you get one-to-one feedback. So somebody senior is seeing what you're doing and providing you with feedback to ensure that you get the most out of this. You might have heard of this mini clinical examination. That's what mini CEX stands for. So a senior doctor or consultant or another specialist watches you examine a patient or take a history and gives you feedback about that. TOPS is a direct observation of procedural skills, where you do a procedure on a patient and there's somebody watching you and giving you feedback about that. CBD is case-based discussion, so you sit down with, you know, a case or two that you have managed yourself, and you go through the case with a senior colleague. The MSF is the multi-source feedback, where you ask people who you work with for their feedback. This is anonymized, and then you get feedback from your education supervisor about what the people who you work with have said about your performance, about your attitudes, about your professional behavior. And we find that very useful. And there's also something called the teaching assessment tool. We recognize that being doctors, whether we like it or not, you will be involved in teaching. And it's important that you recognize that developing teaching skills is probably something, you know, worthwhile investing in. All of these will be recorded on an Eportfolio. It's an online system, which is the same system as you can see used by the NHS, which is provided by NHS Education Scotland. And everything you do will be tabbed, and you will be able to follow your own progress. Your supervisor will be able to follow your progress, and the foundation training director will be able to see that you are on target with your assessments, that you're performing well, and that you yourself can look back and see, you know, what your targets were and that you are meeting those targets. So we find this very useful. What about the application process? This is this year's application process, but next year's application process will be very much the same. So usually the applications open sometime around October time. That is for July 2013. Now the applications will be out in October of this year. By December, you will be told the results of your application. In other words, you will be told whether you have been accepted to join the program or not. But after that, you will also be invited to an interview. The interview is compulsory, and unfortunately you will need to travel to Malta for the interview, and the final say about whether you will be offered a post is based to some extent also on the interview apart from the application. So the results of the interview, in other words, the definite result whether you will be offered a post, will be given to you around Valentine's Day. And once we offer you the post, we will ask you to accept or decline that post. And if you accept, then we will send you the whole list of programs that are on offer, and you will rank your choices. And depending on where you've ranked in the process, so if you were first, then you obviously get your first choice. If you're second and nobody has taken your first choice, you will take the first choice, etc. But the important thing is that all of the programs are balanced programs, and whether you're first or last in the people's offered the post, you are guaranteed that the post that you will be offered will be sufficient to cover and for you to achieve the competencies expected of you by the end of F1. Once you've ranked the programs, you'll be told the assignments, so you will know ahead, 1 year ahead, which posts you will be going to, the 3-month posts that we've mentioned, and then you will start at the beginning of July the induction and shadowing period of 2 weeks, and then you will start working formally on the 16th of July. We do have a late entry for people who, in our situation, fail finals but then pass resits, so they can join the program in September. Of course, you will need then to finish your program 3 months beyond the final date that the others finish. So you will finish in September, that is. Who is eligible to apply? Anybody really who has completed medical training in an EU medical school, a recognized EU medical school, is able to apply. In your case, if you're doing your course here, you're obviously doing your primary teaching in English, so you don't need any IELTS. You need a medical dean statement, which gives you permission to apply, which also tells us that you've been performing well. And we'll also ask for academic transcripts. The reason for this is we use what we call deciles. In other words, if you're one of the top 10% in your class, you will get a certain score for your final, which contributes to your final ranking. If you're second, you get a different score, etc. So we do score or base our final score at least partly on your ranking at medical school. Obviously, we want to make sure that you've not been up to any criminal activities. That's important. And as I'm sure all of you will have covered your basic life support before you come to join the program. The reason is that you will need a recognized BLS to be able to do your ILS, which is provided to you during induction and shadowing as well. The interview is one of the things that sometimes people ask about. As I said, it is held in Malta, and it's in January. I think what happens at interview is that we'll ask to see your certificates and you'll confirm your qualifications. If you have told us that you have publications, we'd like to see those publications. If you have evidence of presentations, any prizes. And then what you'll be asked is a set of clinical questions. We have a bank of validated questions that we'll use, and also some questions relating to professionalism. And we'll also be able to assess at the time your ability to communicate effectively, and eventually the score from the interview together with the deciles, your qualifications, your publications, etc., we will give you a final score which we'll then use to rank you amongst the applicants. In 2011 we had about 190 applicants. Out of those 190 applicants, 131 were shortlisted for interview, and we offered 100 the post. Eventually 88 joined for various reasons. So we had 88 recruits to the program in 2011. This year's recruitment process, we've had about 240 applicants, of whom 141 were interviewed, and we offered the post to 100, and 85 have accepted. And the reason you see this discrepancy between those we offer a post to and those who accept is because sometimes people have actually applied to more than one program. So some have applied to our program and to the UK program or to other programs. and then they kind of make a decision later on, which is why there is this discrepancy between those offered the post and those who actually accepted. We've got a very significant chunk of our recruits who are not Maltese graduates or graduates from other universities. In 2011, 1/4 were foreign graduates, and starting in July 2012, 1/3 are foreign graduates. So we have quite a significant group of doctors who are coming from outside our own country, and I think that has really contributed quite a lot to the individuals who are coming in settling down pretty quickly. Indeed, some of the doctors who came from RCSI, we told them we're coming here today, and they offered to come and share their experiences with you. And they're also open, and we'll give you their details. So if any of you want to ask any questions to the trainees, we'll give you contacts through Alice for these people who are working, who've trained here and who are working in Malta. Maybe they can give you first-hand advice as to what it's like working in Malta. If you want to get more information, this is our website, so www.fpdoctors.info. And Caroline Galia, who is the manager of our foundation program, will be more than happy to answer any queries you might have about the program and the structure of the program, and maybe practical information about living in Malta, working in Malta, getting accommodation in Malta, etc. So really, in conclusion, we feel that we've got a very well-structured program. As I said, we're affiliated to the UK FPO, and we're also subject to quality assurance by our own medical council and also the General Medical Council of the UK. So we have to reach the standards of the UK Foundation program. The good thing is that if you choose to come and spend these 2 years in Malta, and at the end of the 2 years you want to go elsewhere, the FACD, that is your completion certificate at the end of the 2 years, is the same certificate that you would get from a UK foundation school, and it is recognized in the UK. We have very high satisfaction ratings from our trainees. We sample and survey our trainees at the end of each 3 months, and over 95%, over 96% indeed of our trainees say that they're satisfied with the clinical skills that they've acquired, and that they're satisfied with the quality of teaching and training that they've been provided during those 3 months. As I said, we have a one-to-one education supervisor system. The environment that you work with, particularly at Malta Day, is very pleasant because everything is new and the facilities are good. All the population speaks English. And as I said, we're part of the European Union, so you have free movement, certainly within the European Union, if you're working in Malta. And needless to say, of course, apart from the work side, the quality of life is good. It's fun, especially in the summer months, which goes from February until October. And of course, if you like it so much and you want to stay, we have very good opportunities. We have a very well-structured postgraduate training programs in all of the specialties practically. And if you like it, you'll be welcome to stay. These are our offices. And this is the foundation school offices up there, which we call the penthouse, from where you can see a lovely view of the harbor and the sea and enjoy looking at the beautiful yachts in the marina. So if you want to come and visit, you're most welcome to see what it's like, and we encourage you, and we would really welcome your applications and hope to see more of you joining our program. Thank you very much.